This is Stuff We Play, home of that weird, somewhat esoteric video game stuff. So, Sonic 3. There's so much to say about this game. The fact it was split into two during development, the fact Michael Jackson was involved with the soundtrack, the fact that Knuckles, a character who first appeared in Sonic 3, apparently has four, schmeckles. I even did a video last year on what I thought was Sonic 3's weirdest port. The Sonic & Knuckles collection, which was a port for Windows 95 PCs that had a seemingly altered soundtrack and which runs way too fast on modern computers, without a fan-made patch of course. At the time I made that video, I thought the SNK collection was probably the weirdest version of Sonic 3 I'd ever find. That was at least, until a friend of mine, Hi G, sent me this eBay listing. This was for a PAL Asian copy of Sonic 3, and I'd never seen anything quite like it, and I wanted to find out exactly where it came from, which is what we're diving into today. This video is made possible in part by our Patreon patrons and YouTube channel members. Find out how you can get extra content for as low as $1 a month by checking out the links in the description below. Now, I'm at a weird point in game collecting where I've really slowed down. And sure, part of that is because game collecting has gone from being a dirt cheap hobby I did in my free time in high school to an increasingly expensive and inaccessible one, and one that part of my income is based on at that, but also because I feel like I have everything I actively want. Like sure, I'd love to have, say, an Atari Jaguar someday, but if I ever got one, would I ever play it outside of, say, recording for a potential video? Being something that's cool to look at on a shelf can only go so far for me nowadays. I really don't know what compelled me to do it. Maybe it's because it was just around my birthday and I'd canceled my plans due to the world playing on funky mode again, but I pulled the trigger and bought this weird version of Sonic 3. And 3 to 5 days worth of shipping later, it arrived. What makes a PAL Asian version of a game so weird? Well, for starters, that combination of words and letters is really odd from a retro gaming perspective. Back in the day, part of region standardizing and even region locking in video games and video game consoles had a lot to do with different sets of standards that were used around the world. Of course, for example, one of those standards is power and power voltage. The US mostly uses 110 volt power, most of Europe uses 220 volt power, and Japan slightly differs from the States by using 100 volt power. And before anyone asks, cause yeah, I live there, yeah, Canada uses 110 volt power just like the States. And that's not to mention all the types of plugs and connectors used around the world too. Like look at this behemoth from South Africa. Aw yeah, outlet plugs. That's what you wanted to learn in this Sonic video, right? Anyways, there are also different TV broadcast and heritage standards around the world. Heritage, is that the term? Anyways, there are two major TV standards, PAL and NTSC. There's a lot of intricacies with these, but there are two big things to know. First is that PAL is mostly used in Europe, and NTSC is used in Japan and North America. Second is that PAL TVs typically run at 50 Hz, while NTSC TVs typically run at 60 Hz. To simplify this, it's why in the earlier Sonic games, Sonic was quite literally slower in Europe. Now, while I'm sure this info is really cool to you and all, it being explained like this probably is doing a bit of a disservice. I feel like it's painting a view of PAL Europe, NTSC everywhere else. And I feel like it's a view that most folks on YouTube seem to have from my experiences, and I'm even guilty of thinking like that as someone who has spent most of their life living in the US or Canada. But what about Brazil, China, Singapore, hell, even the entirety of Africa? That's not even to mention that there's a third broadcast standard besides PAL and NTSC called CCAM, which was used for a long time in places such as the USSR, Western African countries, and even places such as France and East Germany. Some places even use PAL and CCAM interchangeably, particularly in Eastern Europe after the fall of the USSR. You really did think this was going to be a video on Sonic the Hedgehog, but instead you got info dumped to about international TV standards Look at that. It's not like I haven't done a ton of other Sonic videos that actually focus on Sonic. Anyways, let's actually talk about Sega, Sonic the Hedgehog, and the Mega Drive. And yeah, even though I'm in North America and over here in Freedom Land we called it the Genesis, I mean the actual Mega Drive, because North America has very little to do with the story. I mean, this PAL Asian copy of Sonic 3 does feature the American box art, along with the black grid background that's commonly associated with the Genesis. Besides, the back of the box is in English. A few things can be confirmed for sure about this copy of the game too. It was released in 1994, likely around the same time as the Japanese release. The front of the box features a large circle with the word PAL on it, along with a note on the bottom that says 16-bit cartridge, for sale in Asia except Japan and Korea. It also comes with 2 manuals, one in color, one in black and white, with them being in English and Chinese respectively. The actual cartridge also features the North American box art, though it's shaped in much the same style as a Japanese Mega Drive cartridge. Oh, and the original owner was kind enough to write their name on it, Arjan Niemeyer. I'm really sorry if I just butchered that name. The most striking part of this box is the logo. This gold Mega Drive logo was used for all of Sega's general Asian releases. A lot of collectors just refer to these as the gold label Mega Drive releases. With the PAL label and such, it seems like it would likely have come from Hong Kong or Singapore. These are regions of Asia where games are popular and that use the PAL standard, except if things were that simple, I wouldn't be able to justify doing a full video, would I? I didn't want to know generally where this game came from. I wanted to try to pinpoint exactly which country it originated from. So there are for sure parts of Asia that use PAL or NTSC. Taiwan, for example, uses NTSC while Mongolia uses PAL. But Asia, for Sega, doesn't necessarily just mean, well, Asia. Sega's quote-unquote Asian territory also encompassed parts of Africa and even Eastern Europe. Like, take a look at this Mega Drive from Russia. Is this a European PAL system like the ones you'd find in France? Or is it an Asian one, like the ones you'd find in Macau? Okay, bad example. That one is neither. It's one of those bootleg Dendy consoles that used to be everywhere in Russia. So I spent about a month trying to find info about this copy of Sonic 3. I even did a live stream where I tried to play it, though oddly enough the Retro Freak just dumped me onto this error screen. Developed for use only with PAL and French CCAM Mega Drive systems. Does this mean that this is actually a copy of Sonic 3 for regions that use PAL and CCAM interchangeably? Is there any way to know for sure? Well, in a last-ditch effort, I just made a post about this for my community tab here on YouTube. I just wanted to try to find any info at all that could maybe even give me an inkling of finding out where this game could come from. Like, where did the original owner get it? Because somehow, before I bought it from that American eBay seller, it has to have originated somewhere. My community posts got a lot of responses, and admittedly a lot of them were like, "Can't you see, Jamie? It's from a region in Asia outside of Japan, Korea. Can't you read the box?" And pretty obviously none of that satisfied me. I was getting pretty close to throwing in the towel, but then literally right when I was getting ready just to call this copy of Sonic 3 an Asian copy of exact unknown origin, I got a lead from user George Frankly, and George pointed me towards an excellent Instagram account, Sega Mark V Fan. Though he hasn't posted much in the past year, Sega Mark V Fan's account features an incredible set of pictures of these gold label Asian Mega Drive variants. And there's not only PAL copies, but NTSC ones as well. Originally, I thought most of his games must have come from Hong Kong or somewhere like that. Indeed, some of his games, such as NTSC ones, do actually come from Asia, but Sega Mark V Fan himself is from Germany. And I wasn't left guessing about a lot of his collection for long, as I was actually able to reach out to him for this video. Here's what he had to say. It started by him saying, "Hey, with a PAL version, countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia are likely. NTSC versions are also available for the Philippines or Taiwan. But I know that these Asian versions were also sold in Germany in the 90s. Sorry, Google Translator." I responded by saying, "It's okay, thank you tons for the info. How widespread were they in Germany?" To which he responded, I don't know because I've only been collecting them since 2016, but I do know they were sold new here. Including me, I know 4 people who own Shadowrun, for example. I also bought half of my gold logos here. At first, I wondered how likely that was. I mean, Germany uses PAL, doesn't it? But isn't this an Asian copy, right? But what Sega Mark V fan was saying is really likely. I dug into it a bit and it appears, as he said, especially when the 90s was newly former East Germany, there were importers who sold brand new copies of these Asian gold label Mega Drive games. It makes sense too. I mean, I know this is a very general thing, but let's take a look at the name on the cartridge. Arjan Niemeyer. It's a Dutch name, and no matter where it's from, I'm pretty certain I'm butchering it, but according to a cursory Google search, because goodness, I just want general info, I don't want to come off as a stalker, this is a name that only seems to pop up in the Netherlands or occasionally in Germany. So yeah, despite the Chinese language secondary manual and the English box text, it appears that the most likely point of origin for this weird copy of Sonic 3 is Germany. Oh goodness, trying to figure out where this game came from really did take us around the world, didn't it? So with that, I guess that's it for this Sonic video that really doesn't have anything much to do with Sonic at all. I mean, I guess as for Sonic 3 itself, if you haven't played it, especially the Sonic 3 and Knuckles version, do so. It's an incredible classic game. As far as YouTube goes, I know I was venturing into Sonic Tuber and Mega Man Tuber territory for a while, but this year I've been really trying to focus on documentaries and documentary-esque things, particularly in regards to my ever-growing collection of Game Boy stuff and weird consoles. And of course, that also means doing videos like this on oddities like this PAL Asian copy of Sonic 3 here. And if stuff like that sounds cool to you, then maybe subscribe or even back me on Patreon for as low as $1 a month. Get some early content, even some exclusive content, and also get your names in the credits at the end of each video with these fine folks here. So, yeah. I have a look at a game for the Bandai WonderSwan Color that should be out next week or so, and then an hour-long documentary that should be out soon after that. So stay tuned for all the things I have in the works. So on that note, thank you very much for watching, stay classy, and I'll see you next time.